What if there was a lake so deadly it could turn animals into stone? Lake Natron in Tanzania is a place where harsh, even alien conditions create a nightmare for most living creatures. Its waters are so toxic that they can burn skin. What makes this lake so deadly? This place isn't from legends or myth. It's real. Lake Natron in the Ngorongoro district of Tanzania's Arusha region is a beautiful but deadly alkaline saltwater lake. It gained global attention when photographer Nick Brandt captured eerie images of petrified wildlife surrounding the lake. These lifeless birds and animals, frozen in time, looked like statues carved from stone. And the question on everyone's mind was, how could this happen? Lake Natron sits in the Gregory Rift, which forms part of the eastern arm of the massive East African Rift. This vast lake, spanning about 14 miles wide and 35 miles long, is fed primarily by the Ovaso and Giro River. This river flows down the central Kenya, bringing with it a cocktail of minerals. Surrounding the lake are hot springs that add to the chemical mix, making this body of water one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth. Temperatures around the lake often rise above 40 degrees Celsius, which is about 104 Fahrenheit, and rainfall is irregular and scarce, causing massive evaporation. As the water evaporates, it leaves behind dense deposits of minerals like natron and torona, which dramatically alter the lake's chemistry. The result, the water in Lake Natron becomes highly alkaline, with a pH level as high as 12, almost as caustic as bleach. To put this in perspective, a pH scale runs from 0 to 14, with 0 being highly acidic and 14 being highly alkaline. Anything at the extremes of the scale, like Lake Natron, can be hazardous to most living creatures. Its waters can burn the skin and eyes of animals that are not specially adapted to withstand such conditions. This is where Brandt's eerie photographs come into play. When birds or other creatures misjudge and come into contact with lake's toxic water, they often perish, and their bodies become encrusted in salt, creating an illusion that they've turned to stone. Yes, we were not kidding about that one. But Lake Natron is more than just a death trap. It's also a place of strange beauty. The water's surface at times shimmers with pink and red hues, thanks to salt-loving microorganisms that thrive in such harsh conditions. These microorganisms, particularly cyanobacteria, flourish in the salty waters, creating vivid blue-green algae that add an alien-like vibrancy to the lake. When the alkaline levels fluctuate, they produce red pigments, staining the water blood red. A pink or red crust of salt often forms on the lake's surface, giving it an otherworldly appearance. It quite literally looks like something from another planet. Despite the lake's lethal conditions, it's not entirely devoid of life. Certain creatures remarkably adapted to this extreme environment manage to survive. Lesser flamingos, for example, are perhaps the lake's most iconic residents. These birds rely on the lake as a critical breeding ground, and their diet consists mainly of the algae that thrive in its water. The lake's caustic chemistry actually protects these flamingos from predators, as few animals dare to venture into the toxic waters. This makes Lake Natron one of the most important breeding sites for lesser flamingos in Africa. Not all creatures are so fortunate though. The same waters that protect flamingos can easily spell doom for other animals. When birds accidentally crash into the highly reflective lake, mistaking it for solid ground, they are unable to escape. Their bodies, bathed in the lake's toxic water, quickly become encased in a layer of salt. This is the process that has left behind the eerie statues that Brandt documented. This fragile ecosystem faces real threats. While humans don't heavily populate the area around Lake Natron, it's not completely untouched either. There is some hunting and occasional seasonal farming, but larger dangers loom on the horizon. Deforestation in the Natron watersheds and the construction of a planned hydroelectric power plant on the river that feeds the lake are already disturbing the balance of salinity. Without formal protection, the lake's ecosystem is increasingly vulnerable. But there are no legal measures in place to make sure that these protections will be enforced. And it gets worse. In recent years, there's been talk of developing a soda ash plant right on the lake's shores. The idea is to use the lake's water to extract sodium carbonate and turn it into washing powder for export. This might sound like a great economic opportunity, but the consequences could be devastating. To support the plant, housing for over 1,000 workers and a coal-powered station would need to be built. The impact: the flamingos that depend on Lake Natron could be driven away, potentially pushing them towards extinction. Nick Brandt's discovery of Lake Natron brought its eerie beauty to the world's attention. His photographs of petrified wildlife, flamingos, eagles, bats, swallows, tell a haunting story. Brandt, ever the artist, posed these unfortunate creatures in living positions to create striking visual illusions. His work is displayed in New York. The real culprit behind the bizarre and eerie conditions at Lake Natron is the million-year-old Ol Doinyo Lengai volcano, located just south of the lake. This ancient volcano is unique and holds a special place in the hearts of petrologists because it's unlike any other on Earth. Most volcanoes erupt silicates, those thick molten rocks that we usually associate with fiery lava flows. But Ol Doinyo Lengai spews something far more unusual: nitrocarbonate. These are cool, runny, dark volcanic flows that look more like muddy water than the molten lava you'd expect from a typical volcano. According to Hans Mattsson, a researcher at the Swiss Institute of Technology in Zurich, Ol Doinyo Lengai is the only volcano on the planet that releases this rare type of lava. When the ash from these nitrocarbonated eruptions mixes with rainwater, it makes its way into the Lake Natron, adding to the lake's already harsh alkaline environment. Sounds pretty cool, right? This volcanic runoff is what gives Lake Natron its almost otherworldly properties. The water essentially pickles any animal that falls into it, preserving their bodies in a way that makes them look like they've been dipped in cement. Despite its dangerous nature, Lake Natron continues to draw curious travelers. If you're intrigued by this bizarre and deadly environment, or perhaps have a fascination with the morbid, you can still visit. There are campgrounds nearby, often used by climbers aiming to scale Ol Doinyo Lengai, the Masai Mountain of God. The lake's strange beauty attracts tourists, and the potential for ecotourism is huge. But like so many natural wonders, the area lacks proper management, and conservation efforts are not a priority. Getting to Lake Natron isn't easy, but it's possible by going through the Shop Hole Conservancy in Kenya. The journey is challenging, but witnessing the unique place where nature seems to break its own rules is an unforgettable experience. Lake Natron is like a glimpse into another world, or perhaps, as some might say, a portal to the underworld straight out of ancient myth. Whether you're drawn by curiosity or a love for extreme landscapes, visiting this otherworldly lake is an adventure like no other. So, have there been human deaths at Lake Natron? While no known human deaths have been directly linked to the Lake Natron's caustic waters, the environment around it is undeniably hazardous. It can burn the skin and eyes, making it a risky place to navigate for anyone who gets too close. But in terms of human fatalities, the lake itself hasn't claimed any lives, at least not yet. However, there was one harrowing incident in 2007 that highlighted just how dangerous this strange otherworldly place can be. In 2007, a helicopter carrying a group of wildlife photographers crashed into the lake. The pilot had been hovering the aircraft too low over the surface, likely trying to capture the stunning yet eerie scenery. The helicopter lost control and plummeted into the shallow, toxic waters. The crash left the pilot with a broken leg and one of the passengers with a broken hip. Despite the serious injuries, the crew, 9 in total, was incredibly fortunate to survive. The group was rescued by local Maasai tribe people, who pulled them from the wreckage. While there were no fatalities, the lake itself suddenly left its mark. One of the photographers recalled that the lake's highly alkaline waters burnt his eyes, severely blurring his vision. The group was exposed to the harsh reality of Lake Natron's unique chemical makeup. Even though they escaped with their lives, the lake proved itself to be an unforgiving environment. The area is remote and medical assistance is far from immediate, meaning any accidents can quickly become serious. No matter how stunning, it can be deadly. It's an environment where humans are clearly outsiders, and visitors must go carefully. Whether it's the potential for toxic burns, dehydration, or other accidents, Lake Natron remains a place for both wonder and danger. So if you are planning to visit, remember the lake may not turn people into stone, but it has the potential to leave its mark in other ways. That's the end of this video. Hit that like button and subscribe for more videos like these. See you in the next one.